Hi everyone, my name is Ali. I'm going to be presenting on assimilation true liberation for LGBT people? Um, and so the text that I looked at was Queer Kids of Queer Parents Against Gay Marriage. This text is essentially about how assimilation pushes are for LGBT people aren't true liberation. Um, and how a lot of the LGBT rights movement worked towards assimilation in mainstream institutions, such as, notably in this text, um, including same-sex marriage equality, queer inclusion in military service participation, inclusive policing, and inclusion in corporate America. But this is harmful because the existence of these institutions are problematic and should be radically altered to be more inclusive of the most marginalized within the LGBT community. And this is an ongoing question of assimilation versus liberation and can really help us understand some contemporary issues. The first example being cops and cops showing have recently showed up at pride parades, and I've seen them at pride parades as well, but they have a historical record of killing unarmed Black men who also constitute part of the LGBT community, as well as historically discriminating against LGBT people, which we see with the Stonewall riots. Um, and things like that, and how cops assimilating into prize festivals isn't true liberation because of how much harm they perpetuate to the LGBT community. The next is the military industrial complex, um, and there's a lot of misogyny, trans misogyny within this complex. For example, the woman on the left is a male to female transgender woman, and she was forced to use the male bathroom, and they're not as supportive of female to male, I'm sorry, male to female transgender people as they are of female to male. As you can see with her partner on the left, he hasn't really had issues with having to use the female bathroom. Um, they let him use the men's restroom and people are more accepting, and that kind of shows how the system of the military industrial complex is and like transphobic, misogynistic, and then we see the intersection of the trans misogyny with the trans woman not being able to use um, the female restroom. And I also wanted to touch that the military industrial complex is especially harmful for Muslim and Middle Eastern LGBT people who exist at that intersection, since it kind of paints the Middle East as a backwards place that needs to be westernized, further accentuating Islamophobia. Um, I'm a queer Muslim, I'm an American, and a lot of post 9/11 Islamophobic rhetoric from the military industrial complex, as well as the Bush administration, um, the Obama administration, made me think I couldn't exist as both queer and Muslim. And we see this with a lot of Democratic candidates who advocate for the United States military, but um, forgetting that inclusion in the military um, is not liberation for LGBT people, especially Muslim and Middle Eastern LGBT people whose families are like back in the Middle East, or my family back in Pakistan may be actively harmed by the United States military industrial complex. Last, I wanted to talk about Out for Undergrad. I know I have a lot of examples here, but this is a conference I've been involved with for the past 2 years. It was founded in 2004. It's essentially a job conference for LGBT undergrads. Um, but OFU is not the radical solution that queer people need, since it's only accessible to queers in university who are generally of higher income and white. So there's a lot of companies that show up. They're like, oh, we're inclusive of LGBT people and have like um, all these policies, but forgetting about how capitalism can harm a lot of people in our community, such as low-income Black trans women who struggle to survive because of workplace discrimination. And so how this is liberation for some LGBT people, but for not all, and not the radical solution that we need. Um, and yeah, so that's my last example. And I just wanted to say, like, for a more inclusive movement, there should be more of a radical, less assimilationist approach to expand things like mutual sustainability, mutual aid funds, community gardens, to help the LGBT community self-sustain itself. And yeah.